Dun dun dun, Uncle L here. Alright, we'll give you my limited knowledge on how to catch wipers. Hybrid, and I think it's white bass and stripers, or other known as strippers. And so we'll go through the differences. I haven't fished for stripers, but they're pretty close to what I do on the white bass. Sometimes white bass will be sitting there and they'll nibble on your bait and they'll clean off the hook. So the number one bait for wipers is cooked mussels. Do not get raw mussels. Won't work. You're sitting there scraping the shell, trying to get little morsels. Get the cooked mussels. Some of the big box stores carry them. You just have to find them. There's a garlic mussel. Ooh, that gets your hands stinky, but that works some days. Sometimes they just like the plain. So we'll get going here, and it's like a lady part. So if you open up the thing, right here's the lips, like a little, and then right here is like a worm looking thing, usually pretty small. And let's see if I can find a hook here. Oh, there's that one. So this is the strongest part of it. Well, that's a little small hook. So if I was using this hook, I would try to chop it off. But you sort of want the hook inside that wormy thing. So this would sort of be facing towards you. You'd want the hook to run right into there. And then the side profile, there's a bigger, fatter end, and then there's a skinnier end. So you sort of want the hook to at least run down into the side of there, like so. And so then that way, it's into the stronger part of the mussel. They are so sneaky, you can sit there and have magic thread wrapped around this, and they'll clean the mussel out. I don't know how they do it. If you feel a bite and they jerk it real hard and you missed them, pull it in, change the mussel. I think they're like, when you don't want nobody to eat your stuff, you take a big bite out and think they have germs. Same way, I think that's the same way. They think the same way. Different kind of hooks. We'll go over the hooks here in a second. There's a fast hatch. So if you want to try drop shotting, you can hook your mussel onto there, tie it on there, use it as drop shot. I use this setup when I have to cast long distances. Usually I have one drop shot and one, just a basic bullet weight swivel leader, or these are rubber bobber stops in this case. That's probably my favorite setup. 4 to 6 inches, they don't really care about the weight. 2 to 3 sometimes. I usually experiment. Who knows, they're just weird. But they'll clean off this whole mussel with no problem. One kid came with frozen mussels last year and he gave us some. And I was like, that's not going to work. He caught 3 and went home. Our limit's 3. So frozen mussels might stay together better. The orange ones, they sort of crumble in there. So the white ones are pretty much the better ones. The orangish ones, when you open this up, they're going to crumble a little bit. You might have to wrap it. I've tried everything, sticking in pantyhose, whatever. They're probably one of the... That and the crappie, man. They drive me nuts sometimes. But, alright. And if you want to use a treble hook, we'll go over the treble hook. Just pretend I have some... I use about 12-pound mono or orange, whatever. They don't really care about the color. And we got bait needles here. So treble hooks, use quality treble hooks, size 6 and up is what I usually use. I don't go this method because they usually eat it off the top and it's all gone. The hookups sort of decrease, I think. So what you do is you get your bait needle. You would have your leader, and then up here would be your heavy weight, your bullet sinker. I usually, mostly I'll use bullet sinkers. And then you would have your leader come up into the little loop right there. And right here would be the sinker. Then you would have your 12-pound mono running down to your treble. So what you do is you spear it in the muscle. Make sure you get it near that worm segment in the middle. And you pull it on through. And so this ends up on the bottom of the muscle there. Then you got the tag in from your mono. You pop that off. And then you attach it to your swivel. That one you can spin around. That holds the thing pretty good. It's just a few extra steps. So if they're pain in the asses, I'll go through that and try that out. The key is cycling through your hooks. So what's the hooks? Bait needles is a requirement, swivels. So what's in here is sinkers if you do the drop shot. Assortment of bullet weights. Looks like I'm low on. I like bells, and there'll be some days no wind's blowing and all you hear is that's it, and they're gone with the muscle. They're that tactful. So bells help sometimes, but when the bite's on, they'll just drag your pole in. Assortment of hooks, the octopus, Gamakatsu. Go with the expensive ones, seems like. So yeah, different octopus hooks. I used to roll with Eagle Claw exclusively because they're cheap and whatever. I found the Matsu with the sickle hook. That killed him one day, but then next day I went, didn't work. This is a weird hook right here. Has a safety pin feature, but they'll clean that right off. Won't even touch the hook. Pretty crazy. It's like a safety pin up top, and you just poke your bait through. Some days they'll be biting hard. I think that's Gamakatsu Big Cat, something like that. Octopus hooks. This is mosquito hooks. Sometimes I'll chop it in half and try that to go ultra if they're ultra picky. Size 2. Can feed the whole muscle on there. This one's a surprise one. And I think the whisker sticker also has one. And that's 2/02/02. And that one works pretty good. Yeah, it looks like a drop shot hook. Yep. This owner worked pretty good. Worm. And there's just different hooks. Cycle through. Make sure you have your magic thread. And that's pretty much it. That crosses over to catfish and the wiper box. Alright, let's get into the lures. So there was a 12-pound, just maybe 12.5-pound. Man, that thing was a monster. And this is just a representation. He was using a cheap Castmaster at Walmart, so they're like $2.50 or something. Not even the real Castmaster. And he had the Walmart $19 spinning reel combo, and he left the whatever 10-pound mono that they had on it. But that, out of this one place where we fish, he caught the biggest one that I've heard about. They had pictures of it too, so I believe him. But usually the Castmasters, I've caught a few on there, not as many, but you gotta change up your presentations. What works the best is the 3-inch and 4-inch minnows. Power bait. They got the chartreuse and greens pretty good. They got the all white. That's pretty much your number one jig setup. And 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce. You gotta sometimes go way out there. This one place had the inlet had 50 people around there, and I'm like, some of them were sinking it with mussels, and you had to cast right into the middle because all the prime spots were gone. Limited out within 15 minutes. The one Asian guy next to me goes, You catch fish. 50 people here, nobody catch. But yeah, usually use the cheaper jig heads because there's a lot of snags. It's a learning curve. And the line I use, there's a lot of haters on this line, but it's the Gliss, 40 pounds, and then I use a fluorocarbon. There's shock leader, but usually fluorocarbon around 20-pound tests. That's overkill, but this one bank I fish, I had to drag 3-4 pounders up the thing, and up the embankment, and I don't know. They're always tricky, and I just go overkill, and I have no problem with them. I would recommend a medium rod if you don't want to spend too much money. Uncle L's setup, it's around $60. Is the Fluger Lady Tryon. And there's the Gliss line. See, it's how it's all beat up, and then I tie on a 20-pound. This thing casts a mile. 7-ball bearings. This is medium action, 6 to 12 pound, and 6'6" inches. So this thing is just a beast. I catch everything on this, but if you're starting out, I believe this is under $70. That would be a great setup, and pick your favorite braided line. Like I say, that's probably the top one. I've gave up on spider wire. Whatever you do, don't buy Cabela's ripcord. That stuff sucks. And just pick your favorite one, shock leader. But yep, just cast away, cast everywhere. 2 feet next to the bank. Usually they're there, usually they're not. If you like to move around, move around. Usually I sit in one spot and set up and just goof around using mussels off the bottom, and then every once in a while I'll throw a jig, see if anything popped up. But don't skimp on your bait hooks. Go with the higher end ones. And if one hook's not working or you're getting bites and they're leaving, change your hook. If you get a bite, change your mussel. That's pretty much it. I have a big box of jigs somewhere, but pretty much I just use any kind of half an ounce, 3/4 of an ounce, or 1 ounce jig, and just bomb it out there and run it on the bottom. I don't know, it's sort of hard to explain, but that's what they like. That's what I got most success with. I think that's it. Uncle L's out.